In this video, I'm going to tell you how to cue poses when you're teaching yoga online. Make sure you click subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified when I release content every week about yoga, sustainability, and wellness. I received my 200-hour yoga teaching certification in October of 2019 in Rishikesh, India, and I've been teaching ever since. I've taught Ashtanga and Vinyasa classes both in the studio and online, and both. Since the pandemic, I've taught mainly online classes, and I've learned quite a few things and some differences to note when you're cueing and teaching to a virtual audience. And I want to share everything that I know with you and hopefully hear some tips and tricks from you as well. So the first thing I want to share with you is that I plan out every single yoga flow that I teach, even now. I know that some teachers are really good at improvising and kind of going off the cuff, and they're actually really good at it. But for me personally, especially since moving online, I really like to know everything that I'm going to be doing and take that time to prepare and think through the modifications and the different ways that I can cue those poses, because your students are now on the computer and looking through a screen, and they're not able to see you just as clearly as they would if you were teaching them in a studio. If I'm not sure how to cue something, there's so many resources online. If you just Google that particular pose, then you can find YouTube videos and articles that give you some different ways that you can teach that posture. Once you receive your certification, you realize that there's so many more things that you have to learn, and you should still be practicing, watching other yogis on YouTube and taking other classes so that you can see different examples of things. Someone might cue a posture in a different way that really clicks with you and will really resonate with your students as well. And it just is nice to kind of have other teachers to be inspired by. In fact, it would be really helpful if everyone could comment below who their favorite yogi on YouTube is, and that way we can all share people that we really love to practice and learn from. So cueing postures is something that we can always be working on. Each pose has its own set of cues that you can add or change or use something different whenever you teach it that can maybe help your students understand it better. And when you're cueing for an online or virtual audience, you need to cue these poses as if you're cueing for an audience that just can't see you very well. Because they can't. They're not in the studio with you, they are not able to look at you or their other students to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So make sure that when you're writing things down and you're planning out your postures, that you think about it in that way. Now, as you get to know your students and you're familiar with your clients, you start to get a familiarization with their level and kind of the things that they like or the things that they know, so you can adjust your cueing that way. For example, the vinyasa, so the chaturanga to up dog or cobra, back to downward dog, is something that beginner yogis maybe don't know yet, and so you want to make sure that you take the time to explain. But as you teach the same set of students, you realize that they already know that, so maybe you don't have to go into as explicit detail. What I usually do is go through the specifics the first time we vinyasa in a class with modifications in detail, and then from there students kind of choose their own flow. I'm going to show you two examples of cueing the same thing. One is going to be a little bit better and one maybe could use some improvement. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms all the way down to the mat. Step the right foot back. And step the left foot back to Vashisthasana. Hold. Exhale, chaturanga all the way down. Inhale, open up the chest as you reach your arms all the way up, touching the palms together above your head. Exhale, forward fold, reaching the hands to the mat. Planting the palms, step the right foot back into runner's lunge, and then planting those hands, step the left foot back to stack on top of the right in Vashisthasana or side plank. Reaching that left hand all the way up to the ceiling, maybe shifting your gaze to the fingertips, and exhale to high plank, chaturanga all the way down your belly. So the second option was obviously better, right? We don't want to be cueing in a way that forces our students to break their flow, break their concentration, and look up at the screen to see what we're doing. It's not just about talking more, it's about giving the details that helps scaffold the knowledge for your students. Using Sanskrit names, for example, is not that helpful for most students. So saying Vashisthasana instead of explaining the posture doesn't really do anything. They're going to have to look and see what you're doing. And the truth of the matter is, you as a teacher are also limited in your knowledge of your students and their abilities. It's harder for us to see what our students are doing and kind of their level and how they're feeling that day when we're not in the studio with them. For me, I find it really, really challenging from my position to even see exactly what they're doing or who's taking modifications and who isn't. So cueing yoga poses literally looks like this: action word plus body part plus location. So you could say, place your right foot on the mat between your palms. Here's where you may also invite more internally focused directions. So you might say, feel the sole of the foot making connection with the earth as you grip the mat with your toes. You can always include metaphors and a bit more flowery language, but the most important part in the way that I was taught is to have clear directives, clear instruction. Once you have that clear instruction, you can be a little bit more creative. You can use the metaphors and the analogies that really resonate with you or that give an atmosphere or a theme to your class. And that's a really fun and creative part about teaching yoga. If you'd like to join me for your yoga class sometime, I teach donation-based classes on Moxie every Saturday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I will leave the link in the description below and you can join for free. You can pay as little or as much as you'd like. And thank you so very much for watching. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on my weekly content. In the meantime, you can watch some of my other videos and I will see you really, really soon.